welcome back. It's been a while since I've done one of these, probably about 3 years, but doesn't matter. We're going to kick off with B601, looking at the nature of God. Now, Christians believe that God is made up of three parts, or persons. This is called the Trinity. This means that there are three ways of God being God. God who is a father, that kind of transcendent creator. God who is a son, so Jesus in a kind of immanent and personal sense, who came to earth and lived a human life. And God who is the Holy Spirit, an immanent but impersonal force, the way God inspires and guides Christians every day. Now, the central facts of this are, people find it very difficult to say what God is like, because God is beyond human understanding. When people talk about God, they tend to use pictures or symbols or symbolic language to describe God. Sometimes people describe God by saying what God isn't. So what God is not like. For example, God is not jealous, God is not cruel. The writers of the Bible often used images. God is called a shepherd, a warrior, a judge, a king, a father, and even a mother hen. However, these are human images, and so can limit God, as God is not a human being or an animal. And to say that he is makes him less than God. This way of explaining God we would refer to as anthropomorphism. Two key words there that I've mentioned: immanence, the fact that God is within all, and that idea of transcendence, that God is above all. Now, when we talk about the Trinity, remember the Trinity shows there are three different ways about thinking about God. It doesn't mean that there are three gods. Now, when we talk about God's nature, we mean his characteristics, his attributes, his qualities. Christians believe in one God. They are monotheists, but Christians would say that God is difficult to describe, but they do believe that he has certain characteristics. God's nature, his attributes, his characteristics, are basically as follows. God is outside of time and space. He is transcendent and eternal. He's omnipotent, as in all-powerful, and omniscient, all-knowing. He's also omnibenevolent, meaning he's all-good and all-loving. So, this means he basically wants the best for people and gives them rules to live by. Christians also believe that God will judge everyone, and that God created the universe for a purpose. There's loads of key words. I'll just give you a brief rundown on those. An analogy, so when we use words symbolically to suggest something else. Monotheism, so people who believe in one God, such as Christians, Jews and Muslims. A myth is a story which isn't factually true but has important spiritual truths. Symbol or symbolism, a way of explaining the unexplainable and using something to represent something else. And those four words begin with omni: omnibenevolent, all good; omnipotent, all powerful; omnipresent, essentially everywhere; and omniscient, all knowing. Just one final thing to mention about God the Father and so on and so forth. Jesus referred to God as the Father, and in Christianity God is called Father in quite a literal sense. Besides being the creator and nurturer of creation and a provider for his children, the Father is said to have an eternal relationship with his only Son, Jesus. However, God can also be seen as female. St. Julian of Norwich refers to God as a mother, and that's an idea that's also found in the book of Isaiah. That St. Julian's book was the Revelations of Divine Love. A biblical text that always comes up in a lot of the other units, man being made in the image of God. That's interesting when we refer to the characteristics of God. So not looking like God, but those characteristics that we mentioned earlier. And that is from Genesis 1, verse 26 to 27.